Thank you very much for joining us once again here on Going Beyond. My guest today is a delightful personality, somebody I've known for a very, very long time, Dr. Ravi Santosham. Now, he's been pretty synonymous with Western music, with singing, with entertaining, with performing, not just in Tamil Nadu, not just in Chennai, but in different parts of the world as well. So it's our great pleasure to have been able to drag him away from his clinic and his work and his golf to be here with us. Ravi, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Now, you have been involved with the MMA, the Madras Musical Association, for a long time.
Yes.
For forever, for as long as I can think back. Let's talk and start about what you do. What's it all about?
Well, the Madras Musical Association is the oldest Western music association east of the Suez. We started in 1893 by, of course, European expatriates who kind of wanted to promote Western music in this part of the world. That's how it started. Our office was St. Andrew's Church, the Kirk, and the first conductor was Signor Aloisio, who's an Italian, who was the organist of the St. Andrew's Church, and the governor of Madras was the first president. And over the years, of course, there were a lot of, they formed a choir and it trickled down and more Indians got into it. And then Handel Manuel became the first Indian conductor. And the choir was the strongest arm of the association. The association also did other things like co-sponsor concerts with foreigners who came in from the consulates. Like we've had Mahalia Jackson, Duke Ellington, the Golden Gate Quartet, and people like that who used to come into Madras, and the Madras Musical Association would co-sponsor them. We'll bring a crowd in, and the consulates would sponsor them. That also used to be the
attraction, really. Yeah. Now, you started actually, I remember you singing many years ago with the GAT Quartet.
Yeah.
Now, that was something really marvelous. You got involved in that pretty early in the day.
Yes, I joined the GAT Quartet as a teenager because one of them left for the US, and I'd been driving them around listening to this singing.
Boy,
yeah.
The errand boy.
Yeah, yes. The errand boy. And because I love the way they sing. And I joined the GAT Quartet, and most of them were singing in the MMA. That's how I came into the MMA, as a chorister under Handel Manuel.
Right. Now, talking of the MMA itself, I know you've been its president for a long, long time.
Yes.
Must be quite a task.
Well, yes, it was quite a task. It was quite challenging, and I kind of enjoyed it because when I took over as president in 1990, the MMA had hit rock bottom. You know, most of our choristers had left, and Mr. Handel Manuel had moved on and formed another association. So we only had about 6 choristers in, and then we didn't have too many funds. We didn't know where to put our library. So it was a challenge then, and to get everything back together. And now, I'm not the president anymore. I was president for 24 years. And
it's a long time.
It's a long time. I've backed off, and now I'm the patron, and I sit back and enjoy if I may say, the fruits of my labor.
A patron is more important than a president, right?
On paper, yes, yes.
So you don't have a great involvement. Do you sing with the choir still?
I don't sing with the choir much, but I do sing with the GAT Quartet. We've been performing overseas most of the time because many of them live abroad. So I've been singing with the GAT Quartet. That's how the MMA also started moving out.
Right.
MMA has also done a few overseas concerts, including Olympic Games.
Well, I'll come to that in a bit. Now, you have 100 members in the choir, the MMA choir. I mean, that is an astounding number of people in a choir. How does it work, Ravi? How does anybody control or, even conduct 100 people?
It's a very difficult task. It's a very difficult task. And over the years, people have come to now understand that they have to be disciplined to be a part of MMA. So the attendance is very strict. The punctuality is maintained. And it is, like you said, it is a difficult task, but it's happening. It's going on. And
going on very well, I might add. Now, let me ask, when somebody is conducting 100 people, does that conductor actually have the final say in everything? Who chooses the music? Who chooses the tunes? How does it work? I've always been very curious.
Well, the conductor actually chooses the music, but he has a core committee with him.
Indeed. Okay.
A few senior musicians who put their heads together and choose the music, and there is an executive committee for the MMA which sits and decides on what music should be done for what concert. What concert should be done next? Should it be a classical music concert? Should it be a light music concert? Should it be a religious concert like for Easter? And what are the music they must choose? There are 2 or 3 choices, and finally, of course, the conductor has the final say.
Right. So everybody who's on this committee
Yeah.
is actually a chorister himself or herself, is it?
Most of them are. Most of
Okay.
them are, and some of them are also administrators, like the treasurer looks after the thing. And our office is the Museum Musical
Yes.
in Mount
So
Road,
that
so we are
is-
lucky to have a place like that as our office.
And that's a right fit somehow for the MMA, isn't it? Now, Ravi, you also have over the years taken your choir to different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting to think that someone and some group from our city actually goes all over the world and performs and entertains people. Let's talk about that.
Well, it all started in 1998. Before that, I don't know, I think the Paranjoti Academy Chorus have gone abroad from
Right.
India. I don't know of any other choir.
That's
has
the
gone.
Bombay based.
That's a Bombay-based
Paranjoti,
choir,
yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So there was this invitation from the International Church Music Festival to Holy Cross Church in Trichy, asking them if they would come over there and sing at the International Church Music Festival in Coventry. And they panicked and they passed the envelope to me.
Right, okay.
And then I said, okay, we'll come. So when I announced that to the choir, they wouldn't believe it. You know, at 1998, nobody had gone abroad. I said, we have an invitation for the International Church Music Festival to perform at the famous Coventry Cathedral.
It's a beautiful place,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
And they were surprised, and at once I got 40 people lift up their arms and said, I'm interested. And finally, when it came down to the actual point of time when we left, there were only 19, but I had promised them 25. So I called up my friends from the GAT, the guys who were living abroad and all that, and said, why don't you guys come in? And then they piped in, and then I called and I found that the International Church Music Festival also had little smaller groups singing. So I called them and I said, listen, we have a group called the GAT Quartet. Would you like to get Quintet then? Would you like to be interested in them? They said, yeah, send us your tapes, audition tapes. So we sent it to them, and they said, can you do our opening night? Now that was very surprising, because
It's wonderful. What an honor.
so yeah, so we did their opening night, and Sir David Wilcox, who was the principal conductor of the entire mass choir,
Okay.
he got up and gave us a standing ovation. He was the first one to stand up, and then the next day we were on BBC television, Midlands television, and the next year we got a call from the Chicago Gospel Festival asking the GAT to come there, and the next year we got a call from Sydney Olympics, an organization called Present Australia, asking the Madras Musical Association Choir and the GAT to be present at the Newcastle torch relay ceremony and a concert at the Opera House. So
This is
it's
amazing.
gone-
It must be a great sense of satisfaction
Yeah.
when you can take the whole
Yeah.
group of people. Are they all excited about coming, Ravi? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you
yeah.
did say 40 started.
But started off, and then when it came down to those days, it required a bit of funding.
Yes.
People were not very well off like they are right now. The thing is that you get there and they look after you, but you have to get there. So people were not those days. Now when they went to Sri Lanka last year for the choir games, there were so many people who wanted to come that they couldn't take everybody.
Really?
That's how it
Charter
was.
the plane.
Yeah.
Ravi, it's time for me to take a very short break.
Yeah.
But when I come back, please hold on to your answer. I'm going to ask you about where funds come from for something like the MMA. It's time for us a very short break, but don't go anywhere, please. Stay right here with us. We'll be right back here on Going Beyond. Dr. Ravi Santosham is my guest here on Going Beyond. He's talking to me about his musical journey, and it has been some journey. Now, Ravi, we were talking about
Yeah.
where does the MMA get its funds from?
Well, the MMA is it's a non-profit organization. We don't have too much funds. We just managed to stay afloat.
Okay.
The main funding was from life members. Now, of course, when we do concerts, we also charge tickets.
Okay.
So with all the expenses over, and we get a couple of sponsors in, and we get a little money stays back, enough to keep the thing running. So that's all there is to it. And even the active membership, the choristers, pay a little bit.
Okay. It must be fairly difficult somehow to juggle around costs and expenses, and there's no profit at all. Absolutely, I can imagine. Now, when you have 100 members in a choir, how easy is it to actually get people to join?
It used to be pretty difficult at one point of time. Now, now that the MMA is more popular than it was, say, about in the 1990s and all that, there are more people who want to join because they come and see the concerts and the performances and all that. And and the important thing is we have a lot of youngsters who are part of the MMA, even though it's all mostly classical music.
Right.
But still, there are a lot of youngsters who want to be part of the MMA, and students. We have a different fee structure for students to join, and for working members. It's now pretty comfortable to run it.
Right. Is there a cap on the number of people one can actually have, say, in this particular choir?
Yeah.
Is there a cap? I mean, at some point in time?
Yeah, at some point you can't. I don't think you can have more than 100, because most of the stages here can't take more than 100 people standing at one time. And then we also sometimes have an orchestra playing.
Yes.
So I don't think we can go beyond 100.
Right. The language, I know that is predominantly English, but you have been known to also go into some other regional languages, Ravi?
They do Tamil, they do Malayalam. I don't know if they do Hindi, but yeah, we do other languages also.
Right. When you go overseas,
we make it a point to do a Tamil song.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. How is that? How does that go down?
It goes on very well.
Really?
In fact, there are bigger applause for the Tamil song than the English ones.
Even though possibly people don't even understand what it's all about?
They don't know. When Gad sings the famous Sendamil Nadanum Podinile, it fascinates people how you can go into harmony with a vernacular dialect and the Carnatic music.
Right.
You do Western harmony, and that to male voice harmony, then that intrigues people. It's fascinating for them.
In the choir itself, let's break it down to the number of ladies and the number of gents that you have there. What is the ratio? Is there a specific ratio? Does it go by the voices and what?
No. There has to be more sopranos, lesser altos, more tenors. I mean, the tenors and basses need not be as strong as the sopranos, but more tenors than basses.
Right.
The higher voices always get more. We have more higher voices than the lower voices.
Right. It's always concerned me that there doesn't seem to be any real children's choir. I mean, a good children's choir. I mean, you're talking about the Vienna Boys Choir and things like that. How come, when we have such beautiful voices among so many of our children? Has
the MMA always had a children's choir also, but it doesn't exist anymore.
Really?
Because we don't have conductors for a children's choir.
What do you mean? What kind of conductor would you want?
I think teaching children has to be very much different from than teaching, because most of the adults who are singing in the MMA are already singing somewhere, in their church choirs.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do they manage then this choir, so their whole life is about singing at a choir, right?
Yeah. Most of them are in church choirs where they do their Sunday worship and a rehearsal after morning service or something like that.
Right.
And this is a little more commitment.
Right. Now, you've been involved with this for a long, long time. What is the future? How do you look at the MMA, in the years to come, Ravi?
It's going to go up.
Really?
Because the amount of talent which is joining the MMA now is phenomenal. We already had Tanvi Shah, who won the Grammy and the Oscar, who was part of the MMA. Andrea Jeremiah, who's an actress, was part of the MMA's children's choir.
What are the plans for the MMA for the rest of this year? I mean, this is 2018.
Yeah. Now, this is like I said, it's a quasi-centennial year of the MMA, and we are kick-starting that with a program, with just a kind of a valedictory program on the 23rd of February. And then we plan to do, during the latter part of the year, Dr. L. Subramaniam, who's a violinist, he's part of the MMA very much. He grew up here.
Is that true, really? I know him well.
Yeah.
He's a really fine
so
musician.
He's promised to bring a Latvian orchestra to perform for the centenary, and we're not very sure, but we're looking at various other things like this, and it's around September or October, it's going to be a grand ending for the quasi-centennial year.
Right. How much advanced planning does it actually take if you're putting together a concert? I mean, months? How long does it take? They must practice a lot.
Yeah, maybe once you finish one concert, then you start concentrating on the other, straight away start concentrating on the other one, which will be about, say, 3 months, once in 3 months.
Okay. I want to specifically ask you, what is the level of satisfaction that a chorister gets? I mean, at the end of the day, when you finish that concert, is it just something inside of a person? Tell me.
The level of satisfaction is tremendous.
Really?
Otherwise, the chorister won't come back again. It's like golf.
Yeah. Yes, I know you're a golfer, right? You've been playing a lot lately. I know how difficult it's been to get you into this studio. So is there time, Dr. Ravi Santosham, for golf, for music, for your medicine? Where do you make the time?
Well, I make the time. I don't know. I wish I had more than 24 hours a day.
Really? Really? Is that the case?
Yeah. I enjoy every bit of what I'm doing.
How good a golfer are you?
I used to be, like all the golfers say, I used to be a better golfer than I am now. I used to be a single-digit handicapper.
Okay.
Well, now I play with my senior friends and I enjoy a bit of it. So
I love that comment I saw somewhere where it said, golf is my handicap.
Yeah.
I really think that's beautiful. Now, you also are the president of the Indian Christian Association here in Chennai and Tamil Nadu. So I need to draw you out on what that is. Is it something that your dad started, you know, your famous father started?
No. It's been around for
what?
It's been around for over almost more than 150 years now. It used to be a socio-political organization trying to get Christians into mainstream politics and other fields like that. We are kind of dropping that political aspect a little bit now, but we are trying to get trained people, Christians, for the Indian Administrative Service, so that we believe that if there is a change, it has to start at the top and then trickle down. So we're trying to get trained people, committed Christians for Indian Administrative Service and stuff like that. And then, of course, we do a lot of charity work. We support we're running a hospital. We support orphanages and old people homes and stuff like that. So that goes on, and we are planning something much bigger this year in terms of trying to get the youth in.
Well, I'm going to ask you about that after the next break. Time once again for us to go away for a very short while. Be right back with you. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Going Beyond. Thank you for staying with us on the show. As I was saying, my guest today is Dr. Ravi Santosham. Very, very talented, different things he's involved with. And I still need to talk to him now about his medical career. Now, tell me, Ravi, I mean, singing, golf, all these other things. But what about your medical career, which is your bread and butter, I guess?
Yeah. It's beyond bread and butter. I really enjoy doing it. It gives me a great deal of satisfaction to treat my patients. And yes, I'm taking up after my dad. My father was a TB specialist. He founded the Santosham Sanatorium and later on the Santosham Chest Hospital. My elder brother is a thoracic surgeon. My younger brother is a radiologist. And we run the hospital which my father founded, and we are trying to now make some renovations to it. My son is a pulmonologist like I am. Rajan, my elder brother's son, is a thoracic surgeon. And
so no one will ever be ill in your family. They'll get treated right away.
So it gives me a lot of satisfaction doing what I'm doing, and I'm glad. I worked abroad for a couple of years, and then
Where was that?
I worked in England for a couple of years. Then I kind of decided this is not a place for me, and I came back to Chennai, and I have not regretted it one bit.
Really? Did your dad actually plan that he would produce this family, these generations of doctors? I'm just often curious about that.
No, I don't think he planned that, and it kind of happened that way, and the planning, I think, came from God.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. Now, the rest of the family, are any of them involved with the MMA at all?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Both my children, two of my children were in India sing with MMA.
Okay.
My son and my daughter. So
That's in your immediate family. What about in your brothers and the rest of them?
They were. Well, my younger brother's daughter was involved with the MMA. She used to sing there. Now she's not in Chennai anymore, so she's not there. But my other daughter also was with the MMA. So whoever's in Chennai is
You're part of the MMA, right? Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, well, it's not really. It's
Okay.
their choice.
I'm going to go back to what I know is your first love, your GAT quartet.
Yeah.
Okay, you still enjoy that?
Oh yes, very much.
No, but Ravi, listen, is this about the friendship that you have with the other people in that?
It is. It is. If you're close with each other in your mind, then you bring out the best music together.
Right. But your GAT quartet are all over the world now.
Yeah.
So how does it work? I mean, you did say that what? Would you, for instance, go to the UK or the US or Australia or wherever the other members are?
Yeah.
How
We
does
plan
it-
out little. We have fans all over the world, so they call us to do small little bits and pieces of music. Now we've all gone on in years, so we can't take up an entire show. So whenever we can, we meet together and sing together. We just enjoy singing with each other. That's it.
Right. That is the joy that
Yeah,
obviously is
yeah.
evident just from
Yeah.
your face and looking at the way you speak. So that means that you guys travel and all meet
Yes.
together and get together. So where's the time to plan? Where's the time to prepare?
You see, it's all there in you. It'll have to just come out. We don't do anything very new. The old gospel songs, the old African American music, and the country music which you used to do, all comes out when we get together, stay together for 3 days, put it all together, and then bang on.
Right. There's many a time when I personally have been to a concert and then you think that, why am I listening to all this new music? I want to hear the oldies. I want to hear, and not from being old-fashioned, but just from being, loving those particular pieces.
Yeah.
So do you see then people ever moving away in a choir from any of the really, the old traditional stuff?
Yes, the new stuff of today becomes the old stuff of tomorrow. So
Indeed, yes, that's true. That is true, but one has to be around that long.
Yeah.
But you think that there is a time and a place for that sort of music?
very much. In our
Really?
generation, yes, very
Okay.
much.
Now the MMA does, you do jazz and you do country and you do other things as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Which do you believe, Ravi, is the most popular? Which is the one that people really like to hear?
Well, the MMA was founded to promote Western classical music. So when a group of people join together as a 100-voice choir, it has to be the classical music which needs to be basically put out. And then we have these little groups which do the jazz and the country and all that. So it's an overall musical evening which is satisfactory to the thing, but not, you can't put a finger on something and say people enjoy this more than the other. Some people enjoy this and some people enjoy the other one.
In fact, that was going to be my next question. You took the words out of my mouth. What about audiences these days? Do you think audiences have changed over the years? What do you think is the response from people when they listen?
Audiences have not changed over the years.
Really?
They have not changed over the years. So they still listen to, there are different audiences for different kinds of music. And there are some audience who will take any kind of music.
So how do you sort of figure that out? Have you
You
seen?
don't.
You don't.
You don't. You just go for a concert and they figure you out. They'll if they want to listen to that kind of music, they'll come.
Right. Does the response from an audience actually get the choir all gung-ho about what they're singing?
Very much.
Does it
very
work
much.
that way?
Yeah, it works very much that way. The applause at the end of the song or something, it gives you a big adrenaline rush.
I can imagine. And I love that at the end of the concert where you keep screaming for an encore.
Yeah.
And I often wonder, now who's going to take this decision? Can we have more of this? Who does actually?
It's actually planned.
Oh
So
no!
before we do the concert.
don't burst my bubble, please.
If there is a request,
Oh,
what do
you've
we do?
decided in advance.
If there is an encore, what do we do? Is what we decide, and then we do that. So we're ready for an
So
encore.
you know which song you're going to
Yeah,
sing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
then does the choir feel disappointed if there is no request for an encore?
Yes.
Is there a little feeling
There is
of-
a little feeling, yeah.
Have
Of
you
course
had that many times?
Many
Any
times.
time?
Many times, yes.
Do you feel bad about it?
A little bit, yeah.
So does it change the thinking for the next concert?
Well, no, not really, because more often than not, you have a request for an encore.
Right. You have now become the patron of,
Yeah.
of the MMA. I'm just thinking that you must plan ahead. I know you said that they're planning concerts and etc. But as a patron, obviously you must have a responsibility that goes beyond concerts and beyond, the bigger picture. I wonder what is that bigger picture?
The bigger picture is trying to get this music not only to the city, even though with the Madras Musical Association, we wanted to reach out to places in Tamil Nadu beyond Chennai, to places like Coimbatore and Madurai and Trichy and all that, where we know these kind of little things are happening, these Western music groups are there. We want to get them involved also and widen the horizon of the Madras Musical Association.
Is there a keenness in these
Yes,
other cities?
very much so.
Really?
Yes, very much so.
So does it mean that you will take 100 people there to perform, or what? How
Or
does
bring
it
them
work?
here, or maybe bring them here, or.
But then those audiences will not enjoy the beauty of what you're
we
doing here.
may not take all the 100 people there. We might take a few. That's already happening, because few people from the MMA, they don't represent the MMA because they're not all the MMA, but there are a lot of people, choristers who go and perform in these places, and we encourage it.
Right. And the rest of the country?
Yes. They have been traveling to the rest of the country, Bangalore quite often, and I think they're planning something to Hyderabad already.
So lots of exciting stuff
Yeah.
ahead. It's been my joy, Ravi,
Okay.
to have you here and to have an old friend on the show. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
All good luck to you for the
Oh,
MMA.
thank you, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I remember many years ago you interviewed my father.
I do remember that, yes.
And then at the end of the interview, you asked him, if you had a chance to change your life once again, what would you do? What would you change? And he said nothing at all.
So does the same apply to you?
Can I end on that note?
So the same applies to
Thank
you,
you
right?
very much.
So
It's a pleasure.
you're going to love what you're doing, right? And you
Thank
wouldn't
you.
do it any differently. Well, that's all we have time for here on Going Beyond. It's been my joy and my tremendous pleasure to have Dr. Ravi Santosham in here in the studio. And don't forget to join us again next week at the same time, the same place. You take care. Bye for now.